All right, so with the NBA preseason underway, there's a lot to cover with this NBA season that's about to happen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of big moves during the off season, and I think there's going to be a lot of teams that come out to be real big sleepers and can actually do a lot during the season and make a run in the playoffs. Do you have any teams on your mind that you think could make really good runs this year?
Well, for me, one that comes to mind watching the preseason against the Spurs and Wembanyama and came up to me was OKC. And because OKC came to my mind, they're such a young team and they're focused on rebuilding their team, especially with what's his name, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, whatever his name is.
Yes.
He's going to be their leader for the team, and with him having Chet Holmgren, they're going to be an unstoppable group of young guys.
Oh, absolutely. The young talent on that team is very good. There's a lot of potential for them.
Their whole starting lineup, I think they all just got out of high school.
They're all very, very young, but I mean, youth does a lot. You'll be able to run the floor faster. Their defense is going to be really solid too.
Reason I say that, with OKC specifically, maybe not this season, but with later on.
Within the next 5 years, they're going to be in contention.
When LeBron's gone, KD's gone, when those guys get older, these guys are going to be in their primes, as you say. They're going to be really good.
Oh, absolutely.
If they don't decide to trade anybody or anything that.
Yeah, absolutely.
No injuries.
Yeah, their management for OKC has been really solid.
Yeah.
They've made a lot of really good moves in the last couple of years, and it's kind of starting to pay off.
Yeah.
One team that I think, everybody always talks about this team. They have one of the greatest players of all time on the team, but I feel like we're not getting enough attention of how good they could possibly be is the Warriors.
Yeah.
Making that move with Chris Paul, that's actually a massive move because that's going to force Steph to play off ball, and that's where Steph's going to get a lot of his shots. Running the floor, running baseline, getting those wide open shots. I think that's going to be real dangerous for when it comes to the Warriors.
No, I saw those two during practice. ESPN posted about it. Chris Paul and Steph, they were running off the screen, off the screen drills, throwing it over their heads with Chris Paul, Steph shooting threes. But during their first preseason game, Chris Paul looked amazing. He was moving so.
Oh, he played. He was looking great.
He was going down the baseline, fadeaway, pull up. He had a great pass to Steph off a screen, but then he got called for a foul. But Steph still splashed it. It was. It looked so good together.
Yeah, the one thing I'm not sure about is their defense. I don't know how well their defense is going to be. Because they're going to be running a small lineup out there.
With Draymond out for a couple weeks, too.
Yeah, with Draymond hurt.
I don't think he'll play for the first weeks of the season.
Yeah.
Because it was 6 to 8 weeks a couple weeks ago. But he'll miss probably 2 to 3, I think. But
yeah, and then everybody's also talking about them losing Jordan Poole. But did you see that guy during the preseason? What's his name? Lester Quiano?
I'm not sure.
Dude's looking like a better version of Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole 2.0. This dude, I think he had 26 the other night during the game. He looks like a really good player and a really good addition to the team. But again, I don't know how their defense is going to look, so that's going to be the kind of problem especially with this very strong West.
If they decide to start Chris Paul, they're going to be a lot smaller. But if they decide to start Chris Paul, they'll have him, Steph, Clay, Andrew Wiggins, and whatever big they decide to have.
Yeah.
Because their bigs are just all over the place.
The bigs have never been important.
Their best big went from the G League and then came back and then went back to the G League and then they brought another guy and then he got hurt and then it was just Draymond being their center.
Yeah.
With Andrew Wiggins at forward. It was so bad.
Yeah. Do you have another team that you think could make a really good run this year?
I have the Trailblazers as one of mine.
I've never thought about the Trailblazers.
With obviously Damian Lillard leaving, going to Milwaukee. But I think they're actually going to be pretty decent, better than what people think.
Okay.
Because
they
got a solid big now, DeAndre Ayton.
Oh, I forgot DeAndre Ayton.
And they're and to me they're just like OKC. They have younger guys they're trying to rebuild, and that's what Trailblazers want. They want to rebuild. And I'm looking at these teams that are rebuilding that are going to become even better.
Yeah.
And I think this season it's going to change.
Yeah, there's a lot of young talent in the league.
Yeah.
Okay, now one team I think is going to end up at the end of the season being a top 6 team in the East, maybe top 5, 4, is the Orlando Magic.
Who's on Orlando?
So they have a very young lineup. What is it? It's Paulo Pincharo and Franz Wagner. Those are both very, very good players.
Franz Wagner's really good.
They're going to be very good. And then they have also Markel Fultz, who... I mean, he started catching a groove at the end of last season.
With
and
Orlando,
he's got some years of experience. They have great perimeter and inside defense.
Yeah.
And they're lights out. All their guys can shoot threes.
Yeah.
So I think that's gonna be a team that's gonna end up being a top 6, top 5 team in the East.
I could see that.
And I don't really see many people talking about them, but I think they're gonna make a really good run for it this year.
Yeah, the East is stacked though this year, which is kind of hard to think.
It's gonna be interesting. It's been a while since we've had the East this stacked before.
It's been stacked for a minute, but people just go to the West. They see KD, LeBron, AD, and the media just goes straight to them.
Yeah, that's
and they're
true.
all over them. So they don't pay attention to the East with all the young guys starting to shine.
Yeah, that's very true.
But
like speaking of defense. Where do you think the defensive player of the year is going to look like by the end of the year?
I have a lot of guys.
A lot of guys.
I have 4. Mm-hmm. And one is obviously my favorite, and I'm going to miss him very much, Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
And
out of Boston. I'm going to miss him in Boston.
He was runner-up behind Jaren Jackson Jr., who I also have on there.
Yeah, the reigning defense player of the year, he will.
Yeah, but
he has a really good shot.
With Marcus Smart trailing behind him one year, and the year before that when he won, I think Marcus Smart still... And with... Actually, they're both on the same team, too. I forgot. Jaren Jackson and Marcus Smart.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be a solid defensive team.
Go back to... not really a sleeper team, but go back to that with John Morant, Marcus Smart, Jaren Jackson, Derrick Rose.
Memphis Grizzlies are looking good.
And you have Derrick Rose, looking out for John Morant and helping
somebody
him out.
Needs to. Jeez.
That's what he talked about that too, with all the stuff going on. But back to Defense Player of the Year with Marcus Smart, Jaren Jackson. Those two are going to work so well together on the defensive end. So I would say, since they're on the same team, might go to Jaren Jackson with more defensive stops and more of the defensive role with that team. But yeah, those are one of the guys that I have.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I was going to talk about Jaren Jackson as well, just because he's the reigning defensive player of the year. So of course he's going to be in that consideration if he has another really good season. But one guy I think could have a really good shot is Evan
Mobley.
Evan Mobley on the Cavs. He's a great rim protector, and he's very mobile. Every year he's been on the Cavs have been a top 10 defensive team.
Yeah.
So he has such an impact, and I think if the Cavs have a really good season and he is a big part of it, then I think he has a good shot of being in consideration at least.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
But I also have Drew Holiday as one of mine, and Anthony Davis.
Okay.
Those two. If Anthony Davis stays healthy, he's one of the best defenders in the league. Mm-hmm. Just always he's gonna be in the paint, just blocking shots like crazy, like he always does. Averages 3 to 4 blocks per game. And Drew Holiday, with being on Boston being years before, one of the best defensive teams in the league. With having Marcus Smart, but Drew Holiday replacing him, that's a really good, solid defensive pick. And honestly, Drew Holiday's a better shooter the more I think about it than Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
So honestly, I kind of like that pickup, but I'm gonna really miss Marcus Smart's leadership and defense. That's what kind of helps. But
Drew Holiday's been around for a while too. He's got some good experience in him too.
So has Marcus Smart.
Yeah, I know, but we'll see how it goes for Boston.
Yeah.
One other guy I wanted to talk about is of course Giannis.
Yeah.
Giannis is always in consideration for the defense player of the year every year. And you can't just not count him again this year for being in that running. I also have him running in a different category. I also have him going for MVP as well.
I also have him as a top candidate for MVP.
Yeah, I think just Giannis is probably the most dominant player in the league right now, other than probably Jokic.
And Jokic I also have as a top candidate.
Yeah, also. I think Jokic and Giannis are top 2.
Those two are going to go back and forth this year. Joel Embiid's not going to be. I don't think he's going to be a part of that conversation this year.
No,
he's going to get stats like he has, but it's not going
I
to.
don't think Philly's going to win as
No.
much this year.
James Harden having problems. They're not going to do it.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down between Jokic and Giannis, and I think whoever has the better team at the end of the season will probably get the title of MVP.
I also have Luka though, Luka Doncic
Really?
and Jason Tatum.
I have I was thinking Tatum as well.
I know Luka's surprising, but he always puts up big numbers like that. And if they decide to start winning some games and play some defense,
Yeah.
he'll be in consideration for that. But go to Tatum, best player on the Celtics, and he's just been absolutely destroying play. He's like the leading scorer with like points in the playoffs like the past few years, and just leading the Celtics with another like winning streak once again over and over and over. They just got to get past the Heat in the conference finals every year.
Yeah, with Tatum though, he's got to prove that he is the best in the East.
But I think this year is his chance. Like this, like
I feel like we've been saying that for 2 years.
No, but like
now.
this is his like pretty much last chance to really like say like I can win MVP. I can get us to the finals. I can actually win.
I wouldn't say it's his last chance, but I mean,
it's just
he's got to solidify himself as the best player.
It's just the
switch. I mean, with Giannis and Jimmy Butler and who else? Who else am I missing?
On the Heat?
No, just in the East. Who would be
Giannis, Butler?
I'm blanking hard.
I
know.
It's tough.
Joel.
Yeah, Joel, Harden. It's mostly just between Celtics, Bucks, and Heat this year.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
In the East, not much teams really matter. They just have to make the playoffs. And just have luck.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Tatum, the Celtics, I know me and you, that's our favorite team, the Boston Celtics. Love the Boston Celtics, but I think this year could be a really good run for them as long as the team stays healthy. Because Kristaps, I like Kristaps, but I don't think he's going to last more than a month before he gets injured again.
You should have watched him during these preseason games. Have you seen
it? It's preseason.
Last game, he had like 20-something points in the game before they also did, and he did that in like 15 minutes.
I guarantee by week 2 he's going to be injured.
He was catching oops and crossing people over, breaking them, but he looks good. Like the thing, and people don't realize when he was on the Wizards the year before, or whatever team. I knew he was on the Wizards for a while. He was like their best big. He was playing great. Obviously, the Wizards sucked, like one of the lowest marking teams in the league.
Yeah,
but that's why no one really cared to see like how everyone was doing that team. But Kristaps was dominating with that team, and no one even realized it.
Yeah, and
I feel like Boston picking up him is kind of like under the radar a little bit, and no one really sees that.
I worry about the injuries.
I'm going to worry about the injuries too. I'm going to be pissed because Robert Williams is gone.
But if they stay healthy, I think Boston has a really, really, really good shot at least making the finals. Yeah,
but the thing, if they do make the finals, and if the Nuggets too, and if Boston's still healthy, Kristaps isn't going to deal with Jokic. No, it's not happening.
Now, realistically, what I think the finals is going to look like is it's going to be the Bucks versus the Nuggets.
I don't think the Bucks are going to make the conference finals.
Really? With Dame added to the Bucks?
I'm going to say that.
With Damian Lillard added to the Bucks.
Yeah.
He's not going to be as ball dominant as he was in Portland. Because you got Giannis, who's just going to drive to the lane, and then you're going to have Dame wide open for threes the whole game.
Yeah.
And then you have that clutchness in Dame, and then you have arguably the most dominant, if not tied for the most dominant player in the league in Giannis right now.
I just have a weird feeling it's not going to work. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I have feelings that it's going to work great with like Dame pulling up from 40 feet and Giannis can just pick up those boards if he's like off a little. But
it gives me a lot of KD, Kyrie vibes in Brooklyn.
That's my problem. That's what I'm thinking.
It gives me those vibes, but at the same time, I mean, KD and Kyrie are both crazy.
Their team is absolutely stacked, though, too, with Dame, Giannis, Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton, and some white guard who can shoot.
They're deep.
They're big, too.
Yeah.
3 bigs and down low, and you have two great shooters. Like, yeah.
I think that's a dangerous team to look at.
Because that just sounds like Brooklyn to me. Exactly like Brooklyn.
But I think, and then with the Nuggets, I think they have a really good shot at repeating this year.
Yeah.
I can 100% see it. Nobody can stop Jokic. It's just not fair.
I don't. Yeah, it's gonna be Nuggets in the playoffs. In the finals, Nuggets versus Bucks or Celtics.
Yeah, that's what I think will happen.
I don't think the Heat's going to do it again like they did because they weren't even good last year. They just went insane in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see that Cinderella story
because
again.
The year before that they were number 1 in the East, and then they were 8th. Actually, they were like 12th for a while, and then they just bumped up to 8th. Yeah. Actually, because of the the playoffs they do, and like 10th seeds are allowed to get in for play-in. So they were a 10th seed or 9th seed, whatever it was, for a play-in, and they got all the way to the finals, and they got destroyed.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, looks like it's shaping up to be a really good season. So I'm very much looking forward to the season starting.
This is gonna be one of my favorite seasons. Yeah, I think it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a great season.